As the 2024 election approaches, a dramatic shift in alliances may tip the scales in Kamala Harris's favor. Nikki Haley, the former UN ambassador and one-time Trump supporter, has emerged from the shadows with a subtle yet potent endorsement of Kamala Harris. By speaking to her millions of followers about character and political integrity, qualities she implies Harris holds over Trump, Haley is signaling a potential game-changer for Harris's campaign. With her appeal to moderate Republicans and independents, Haley's endorsement could steer the votes of 4 million undecided or right-leaning voters, giving Harris a competitive edge. In this video, we'll break down how Nikki Haley's public criticism of Trump, her direct appeal to voters on Fox News, and her explicit mention of Trump's treatment of women and minorities mark a turning point in the election. We'll examine Haley's motives, her sway over key voting blocs, and the impact of her remarks on Trump's base. By dissecting Haley's statements and their broader implications, we uncover why her tacit endorsement might just be Trump's biggest nightmare. 1. Nikki Haley's evolving stance, a shift in loyalties. Nikki Haley, once a steadfast Trump supporter and a Republican stalwart, has grown increasingly disillusioned with Trump's divisive rhetoric and inflammatory behavior. Although Haley initially endorsed Trump in 2020, her alignment with his policies has waned as she confronts what she perceives as a character crisis within the party. Her recent appearance on Fox News, where she emphasized the importance of character, decency, and respect for women, demonstrates a shift in her allegiance, a move that has the potential to sway her substantial following towards Kamala Harris. Speaking on Fox News, Haley didn't mince words when critiquing Trump's remarks about women and minorities, particularly his attacks on Puerto Ricans and his public support for controversial figures who disparage women. Her call for character over chaos reflects a sentiment that resonates with voters fatigued by Trump's controversies. This shift underscores Haley's priorities in the current political landscape, endorsing a candidate who upholds American values and seeks unity over division. 2. Fox News as the battleground for Haley's subtle endorsement. Fox News remains a powerful platform with considerable influence over Republican voters. Haley's decision to critique Trump's behavior on a network known for its conservative audience wasn't coincidental. It was a strategic move aimed at reaching disillusioned Trump supporters. In her interview, Haley implicitly endorsed Harris's values over Trump's, framing the former vice president as the candidate with the integrity and moral compass needed in the Oval Office. By leveraging Fox News, Haley sent a message to her 4 million followers. Voting for Kamala Harris is a legitimate option. Her mention of Trump's derogatory language towards Harris and the Hispanic community didn't just criticize the former president. It extended a subtle permission to her base to consider Harris as a viable alternative. For swing voters and moderate Republicans, this was a green light to cross party lines without abandoning conservative principles. 3. The power of Haley's influence on swing voters and moderates. Haley's influence extends beyond her core Republican followers. Her criticism of Trump's aggressive rhetoric, particularly towards women and minorities, resonates with moderate Republicans, swing voters, and independents. Her values of respect and character align closely with Kamala Harris's message of unity and equality, allowing Haley's endorsement to appeal to voters disenchanted by Trump's divisive tactics. According to recent polls, up to 40% of Haley's supporters have expressed an openness to voting for Harris, indicating that character matters significantly to this demographic. This shift could prove decisive in swing states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, where disillusioned Republicans could tilt the scales in Harris's favor. By appealing to these voters, Haley's endorsement has transformed Harris into a bipartisan choice, potentially broadening her appeal across political lines. 4. Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden. Fueling the fire. Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden, intended as a demonstration of his enduring support, ultimately backfired. Characterized by inflammatory remarks targeting women, Puerto Ricans, and minorities, the event provided Haley with the ammunition she needed to speak out against Trump. His use of derogatory language and support for controversial figures who demean women contradicted the Republican Party's need for a disciplined and inclusive approach, an approach Haley made a point to emphasize in her Fox News interview. Trump's reference to January 6th as a love fest and his attempts to minimize the hurtful remarks made by rally speakers alienated more than just Democrats. It disillusioned members of his own party. By choosing divisive rhetoric over unity, Trump inadvertently pushed Haley into a position where supporting Harris became more palatable than endorsing his campaign. 5. The implications of Trump's estrangement from female and minority voters. Trump's rhetoric and actions have continued to alienate key demographics within the GOP. His dismissal of Puerto Rican voters and his derogatory remarks about women have eroded his support among these critical voting blocs. With women making up 53% of the electorate, Trump's failure to address their concerns could be a fatal flaw in his campaign. Haley's recent actions demonstrate a commitment to empowering female voters, implicitly endorsing Harris as the candidate who respects and advocates for women's rights. Trump's approach risks further alienating Hispanic and Puerto Rican communities as well. His recent statements describing Puerto Ricans in Pennsylvania and Michigan as garbage have outraged Hispanic leaders and voters across the country. In contrast, Harris has consistently championed minority rights, a message that resonates with those who feel overlooked or marginalized by Trump's administration. Haley's endorsement of Harris, albeit indirect, further highlights this disparity, encouraging voters to support a candidate who values diversity and inclusivity. 6. Why character matters. Haley's appeal to Republican voters' core values. Haley's appeal to character strikes at the heart of Republican values, especially among conservatives who value integrity and accountability in their leaders. Her subtle endorsement of Harris reminds voters that true leadership goes beyond policy and rhetoric. It requires a moral foundation and a commitment to ethical governance. For Haley's followers, this is more than a partisan choice. It's a decision rooted in the desire for a candidate who respects American ideals and represents all citizens. By positioning character as the defining issue of the 2024 election, Haley has effectively redefined the stakes of the campaign. She has made it clear that, in her view, Harris embodies the qualities necessary for a president, while Trump's actions suggest a disregard for these values. This powerful message has the potential to sway millions of voters who prioritize integrity over party loyalty. 7. The long-term impact of Haley's endorsement on the Republican Party. Haley's endorsement of Harris could have long-lasting effects on the Republican Party, signaling a potential shift towards a more inclusive and moderate platform. As more Republicans question Trump's tactics, Haley's stance may inspire a wave of moderates to seek candidates who prioritize unity and respect. This shift could redefine the GOP, moving it away from Trump's brand of divisive politics and towards a vision that appeals to a broader cross-section of Americans. For future Republican candidates, Haley's actions set a precedent. Character matters, and voters will support leaders who embody integrity and respect. By endorsing Harris, Haley has paved the way for a new era in Republican politics, one that prioritizes moral leadership over partisanship. Nikki Haley's subtle endorsement of Kamala Harris marks a pivotal moment in the 2024 election. By appealing to her 4 million followers and emphasizing the importance of character, Haley has given Republicans and independents alike a reason to support Harris. In doing so, she has not only impacted the current election but also set a new standard for future Republican leaders. As Americans prepare to vote, Haley's message resounds: character matters. Her endorsement of Harris, framed by her criticism of Trump's divisive rhetoric, offers voters a choice rooted in integrity and respect. In this high-stakes election, Haley's actions could indeed be Trump's worst nightmare, a final push towards unity, inclusivity, and a leadership style that represents all Americans.